Garden Doctor. The Garden Doctor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Garden Doctor Show. I'm here, she's here, so it's a party. We're getting ready to turn it on and turn it up.
All right,
Listen,
let's
this
do
is
it.
a live show, and we want you to call in. We want you to participate, and we're directing the show for whatever it is you want it to be. And one of the things that we're going to try to add, along with our outtakes and the different things that we do, is to highlight a local gardener. So we want you to think about which gardener locally. We don't care if they're still gardening or not. I don't care if they're in the nursing home. I don't care, where I got to go to visit them. I will go there, and I will, perhaps Michelle will go there, and we will visit and do some filming and have a little discussion with a gardener of note in Fayette County. Now
you're talking about the layman, not a professional. You don't really want a nursery, or do
no,
you?
but I can tell you that there were some fantastic gardeners in this Fayette County.
Absolutely.
That were never fully utilized.
And they may not have been members of the garden club, because that's kind of a
Many of them
special,
were. Many of them
right?
were. And there's a new thing, being a plantsman and so forth like that. And I think that's a grand thing. And there are a lot of those here in Connersville. But it's the old gardeners. I used to sit and visit with them for hours and pick their brains. And there was a lot of things they had to say, a lot of things that were worthy of note. And them, the people themselves, if you work in the garden, if you work with the earth, if you grow things and then you consume what you grow, it makes you a better person.
Let me tell you
I'm
how
telling you.
rewarding it is, because growing up in a city, food always came from the grocery store. And then to move here and have a garden of my very own for the first time, to see the seed sprout, to see the plant grow, and then to have the resulting food that you grew yourself, it is very rewarding. It really is.
Do any of you remember Green Acres? Okay.
Green Acres is the, I am not, what are you talking about?
But now listen, really, she was so enamored with this garden, and I asked her, I said, how many tomato plants would you like? And she said, I don't know. I need enough. Give me 2 dozen.
Yep, so I did.
So I got her 2 dozen tomato plants. I said, what else would you like to grow? And she said, well, zucchini. I said, well, how many of those do you want? Oh, I want enough so I can give them away, so I don't know.
10.
How do you do that?
know.
10 hills, I think. Yeah. Let's do 10
Well, anybody
hills
who
of
gardens
zucchini.
know I was up to here with gardening. But the funny part was that I was telling a good friend of mine who's deceased now, Ron Kramer, Shirley, I don't know if you're still out there watching or not. But I said, Ron says, well, my gosh, with that many tomato plants, you're going to have enough tomatoes to feed the whole county. And I got scared. I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He says, get a lawnmower, mow them down before it's too late. So, good old Ron.
And we did. We had probably the first picking of zucchini was 4 to 6 wheelbarrows.
And I was so proud of my 2-foot-long zucchini.
And everybody's going, throw that thing away. What do you want to this big? What are you
Okay,
doing?
enough picking on me
Yeah, there
now.
you
Let's
go.
pick
Well,
on you for a
there
while.
you go. But we want to promote Fayette
Yes.
County. This show is directed to you, and you need to
And
put some
speaking of
input in
which,
here.
the Fayette County Farmers Market is about to get going, or maybe they have already. I'm not really
I
sure.
think they've done one.
And that's
maybe.
on Saturday mornings, and I think May 29th. Is that what you
20th.
said? 20th?
May 20th.
Starts May 20th. It's Saturday morning. I think they open their trailers at like 8 o'clock. It's only from 8 to noon or 7 to noon. It's an early thing.
It's a fantastic.
That's why I
come
haven't
down
done
to
it much,
visit
but-
though, because there's
yeah.
a lot of fresh stuff going on
It
down
has
there.
to be locally grown
Right.
or locally made,
Yep.
made from local ingredients. So
She got started a little late last year, and again this year because we had health issues. But and she was going to grow a bunch of stuff and take down to the.
And I
to the
signed
farmers
up and I
market.
paid the registration and everything, and just never
Hey,
made it down
well,
there. But
they
you
can
hey,
use the money.
it is what it is.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, Fayette
So
County.
call us. We're live.
Fayette County is call us. We're live. when we're talking about Fayette County, one of the things that has always been of great interest to me is to search through the woods and search the local area for the largest tree. When I had the nursery, Neil Seed and Landscape, I used to run promotions. You bring in a picture of you beside the largest tree you could find of a certain species for that week, and we would put it in the newspaper, and you would be awarded, usually there was like a $50 gift certificate. Maybe I would buy you I think there was a dinner for two at Miller's or something, you know. So, and I've always been really, really interested in the largest of whatever.
Well, because you figure by counting the rings of these trees, they could have been here before you were born, or like to think of the redwoods that were here when
Oh,
Jesus
boy.
was born.
Yeah,
That's just
when
amazing
Jesus
to me.
was born.
Or before.
Yeah, actually about 200 years before.
And we're Jesus believers, so.
Yeah, and so out in California, when I was there and I went up into the redwoods, they have a tree there and they have aged it, and it was 200 years before Christ was born.
That just
That's
blows my mind.
absolutely incredible. But, so
Somebody,
what I wanted to point out to you is...
they made a website. Okay, probably taking your lead. There are no
No, I
prizes,
don't think
but it's called the Indiana Big Tree Register, and they ask for anybody. You don't have to own the tree; it could be in your neighbor's yard, and they ask people to submit the largest tree that of any species. And here's the thing: it has to be a native Indiana species. And there are a whole list of trees that I had no idea that were actually introduced to Indiana. They're not native, so you can't use those. But we actually have in Fayette County 2 of the largest trees in the register, and I will tell you what they are. We have a butternut tree that is in the Indiana Big Tree Register.
Now, I thought this would be the butternut that was down at the school, at the middle school. And I cried the day they took that down. I loved this tree. Loved it with a passion. Actually, it was a persimmon.
Oh.
And I thought that was the largest persimmon in this entire area. But I don't know. It could have
Now,
been.
this is a butternut.
This
I
is a
thought
butternut.
Butternut was native to New Hampshire because they have it there. But
Well, actually, butternut's all the way across the country. It used to
Okay.
be. Now, most of them have died out.
well, there is a butternut tree in Fayette County that's 27 feet high. It belongs to, should I say a name?
Well,
Okay.
the deal about this is that it doesn't have to be your tree for you to get credit
Right, someone
for
else
nominating it.
nominated it. They probably were driving through and said, "Hey, that's a butternut. That's the biggest one I've ever seen." And
Go
so
knock
they
on the
nominated
door and say, "Hey, is it all right if I put my arms
Yeah.
around your tree and measure the darn thing?" See
So
how
the
big it is?"
nominator is listed, and the owner of the property is listed, and the other tree we have in our county is actually in the cemetery. If you go up 30th Street,
I think it's the one.
it
Up
is.
30th Street, you turn left as it makes the bend
Well,
there,
I
and you
couldn't
head
find
down by the power station there. The back
Well,
way
it's
to-
actually, if you go 30th Street all the way just before it makes that 90 to the right and you turn left,
Yeah.
it's that cemetery right there.
I think I just said
Is
that.
that what you I wasn't even listening to. I'm sorry. I never heard what you said.
Yeah,
honey.
yeah.
But it's called the Lick Creek Cemetery. Is that?
I don't know.
That's where they're saying
I've
it
done
is.
a lot of work up there. But
Well,
I
at the
really don't know.
Lick Creek Cemetery is the largest cucumber tree magnolia in the state. And it shows a picture of this one, and it's got these big arched branches and it looks like that one.
I believe that's
I think
the one
that's
it
it.
is
They're
because
trying to save.
I have done some work on that tree way in the past and around it and cleaned around it and done. So I believe that's the one that it is. But one of the points I wanted to make is these are only the biggest because somebody nominated them
Right.
and they were measured. But that doesn't mean that we don't have bigger.
It could be a bigger one.
You got to get out there
But
and
no
look.
one's nominated.
Somebody's got to go look and see. We've got some monster sycamore around here.
So if this
They're
is
massive sycamore.
something you're interested in,
Cottonwoods, we got cottonwoods that wouldn't fit in this room.
it
you know.
literally shows you how to measure the tree.
If you go on the Indiana Big Tree Registry site, it
And
gives you all
it shows
this information.
you the form to submit that tree with. And so anybody who's into trees and wanting to know, We have two of the biggest in the state
Just
right here in
drive around
Fayette
and look for a great big giant tree. See if you can identify what type it is. Look it up on there and see if we can get more dots in this Fayette County thing.
Now,
here.
here's the thing
We actually only have 2 dots.
Well, yeah, we only
Look what they got up here.
Some people have no dots.
Well, that's because they're lazy and
But yes,
we don't care about
apparently in
that.
Evansville, they are very big into finding the big trees
Yeah.
and doing this because a lot of the biggest trees
They're
in
ambitious.
Indiana are in Evansville. And just because they turned them in, not because they are the biggest trees.
Well, then you
So-
got Vigo, they've got 6. Then you got
Yep.
St. Joseph, they've
Yep.
got 7.
But here's something weird. There are trees that were introduced to Indiana and trees that are obviously native to Indiana. And some of the ones that were introduced, I was shocked by. Like we have Osage orange,
Yeah,
which is beautiful wood when you cut it.
mostly, I think that was introduced by the United States for fence rows, specifically for fence rows.
Because you see a lot of it on fence
I think
row,
that
yes.
was a
And,
fence row
you know, like
tree.
there's poplar and willow, different varieties of willow and elm that are not native to Indiana. And then there is a list of trees that are native
And
to
let me tell you,
Indiana.
on this
So-
list, I know some about trees, and I'm in the woods all the time. I love to hunt and fish. There's a lot of trees on this list that I did not know existed. Okay, there are some varieties on there that wait a minute, they really took me back. So this is quite interesting to look up, find out what the tree looks like, the foliage, the bark, and so forth,
Very
and see if
cool.
you can find one. I know that in the Whitewater State Park, there is a tree in that park that probably qualifies as a big tree.
I wonder if it's the
Is
right
beech
species.
on there?
American beech is native.
Okay,
And
it
let me
may
see
be an
if
American
there's-
beech. It is massive.
They don't show any beech that was introduced. So
Okay. All right, so this beech tree, which around here beech don't grow to be that, monstrous because they have diseases and so forth. But this one, you could not get your arms across.
my, let's go
It's
look
just
at it.
massive. We need to measure that
Yeah.
guy. Don't you go there and measure.
Yay, you leave our
You
tree
wait.
alone.
Yeah,
No,
let
go
me
ahead.
know.
If you know of one, check it out. Look it up on the website. It's something to
Listen,
do.
call in. Think about it now. Think about who is a gardener in this community that you think should receive some note by being interviewed and talked to and have them featured on one of our shows.
I would like to mention one of them, a good friend of ours, Mr. Bud Whipple, is absolutely fanatical about his yard. He has so many different varieties of perennials, and it's just an absolutely beautiful yard. But unfortunately, his wife had been sick for a while and then in a nursing home for quite a while.
Well, she had the automobile
Yeah,
accident.
after the auto accident. And so Bud pretty much lived at the nursing home, ate his meals there and everything else. Unfortunately, she passed away, and she will be dearly missed. But now
We hope that
it's
his
been a
yard
little
will
while.
be
a therapy for
Therapy.
him. And he's coming around to being more interested again in
well,
what's going
yeah,
on.
a
So
little bit at a time.
I hope he gets back
This
into
is.
it.
I think they were together for 70
Oh,
years.
my word.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being with you that long.
Yeah,
Just kidding, Evan.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding.
So, we want to highlight Fayette County. We want you to tell us who the great gardeners are around here. We want you
Yes.
to get some more trees on the registry
Absolutely.
here. And we're also going to talk about some trivia that has to do with Fayette County specifically. If you have questions, go ahead and call. One of the questions you should be calling in about is why is it raining and raining and raining? And how are you supposed to grow a garden in the rain? Well, actually, you can grow what's called a rain garden.
Really?
Yes, and I have had a few of these. I had an experience with this. I was redoing the the Museum of Art in Indianapolis, and there was this marsh area that was down at the bottom, and there was a very old German landscaper that was a good friend of mine, and he worked there, and he cut with just a curved blade in his thumb. That's how he trimmed things.
Wow.
And he was a little hard to understand, but if you took the patience, and he said, "Come here, and I'll show you my rain garden." And he took me down, and he showed me all these iris and echinacea and different plants that loved it in the muck. So there
Are you talking like a terrarium that sweats for
this
itself?
was no, this
or-
was just where all the water drained down and it just puddled here. There was a clay base underneath, and there was poor drainage, and it was a little bit of shade, but that wasn't the problem. It was just that this area held moisture.
Nice,
So
okay.
he dug out some little pockets, and they were where he put in his pond lilies and whatnot. And then he planted irises that were in pots and just shoved them down in the muck. And he had a beautiful rain garden. That's
Nice,
what he called
okay.
it. He said it's very common. He looked at me like I
never heard of it.
had lost my marbles because I didn't know what it was.
Which is true.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
So, but when it comes to vegetables, it's a little bit more difficult to have a rain garden.
All you get is weeds. I mean, if April
Well-
showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring?
No, what do
Pilgrims.
What? Oh,
Gotcha.
help me, Lord. Yes, I fell right into that
Yeah,
one.
you did.
Okay, so what do we do with this rain? We got a lot of rain. It's been dry now, though. We've had a little spell here, and we're going to get into some more rain. So what do you do? How do you protect your plants now when they're getting too wet, and then later when they're going to get too dry? What do you do then? Well, you plant on a hump. You hoe up.
Because it will drain.
And plant on the top
Okay.
of this, either your seeds or your transplants, and then when you start getting into the drought, you mulch the valley. So now you've planted on a hill and it's going to drain away, and you're not going to have rot because of the rains. And if you can slope your garden one direction or another, and actually put plastic in these troughs,
You can funnel it.
You'll run the water
Like a
right
French
off there,
drain type.
right down into the.
Now,
yeah.
this is why you have showed me on a couple of landscapes in town where you said it's ridiculous to plant a shrub up on a hump like
yeah.
that because the water will always drain away from that plant.
Yes.
And I guess if it's a plant that likes the desert, that's okay. But
Yeah, but it's foolishness. I don't know who started this thing where the
It's pretty to
landscapers
plant
are
on a
planting
hump.
up on a hill and then banking up the bark mulch to it. I don't know who started that
He doesn't
nonsense.
like that.
I don't know who started the idea of going to the gravel pit and putting gravel pit gravel around your shrubbery. Who the heck started that
It is
nonsense?
low maintenance.
No,
I
yeah,
mean-
but I can do low maintenance without that
With-
nonsense.
yeah.
And let me tell you, it's not
Well,
low
some
maintenance.
people like the look of rock.
Go up and down one and tell me that's low maintenance. They put in the shrubs, they put in the gravel, and it's full of weeds.
Oh.
That's no low maintenance.
Okay, no.
If you want to get rid of the weeds and you want to reduce it for commercial planting, then you use a weed blanket that is properly installed, and you put some pockets in there so the water can run to the plants, and you'll reduce your maintenance. You'll cut it down. They actually did a pretty good job of selecting the plants. They just did a horrible job of following through with the planting and the mulching and all of that business. It's you know, I'm retired. I have no axe to grind, so I'm going to call call it that like I see it. And it's horrible to come into town and see weed, 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 weed. Oh, there's a flower. Weed, weed, weed. Oh, there's a flower. Gravel. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We need to make the entrance inviting to come into Connersville.
Agreed.
We need to make it so that it's warm coming into Connersville. And I'll tell you something else. They have taken away my oxygen, and I don't like it.
You mean by taking away the plants?
By taking away a location where a tree used to grow.
Oh.
Down in front of the historical building downtown,
Yes.
there was a perfectly good locust that did not require removal. And I even had offered to prune it for free because it just needed a little lifting, a little shaping,
Okay.
but not butchering. It did not need that. They not only cut it down, but they concreted over the hole, and I'm not going to put up with that.
Oh boy.
I'm going down and drill a hole in that.
This is not a concrete
I'm
jungle.
not.
No.
They're trying to make a concrete jungle. Now I understand. We had to take out the trees in order to do the modifications.
It still looks bare, I have to
Put
say.
some trees back in
I
there.
don't know if they would allow, because they have to mow that now. We're talking about up and down Grand, where they had to put in the sidewalks and the sewer things and take down all of those
That's not
trees
Grand,
in
is
order
it?
to do that. Isn't it Grand? Yeah.
Oh, well, is it? Yeah, I guess it is. I
And
don't
it
know.
just looks absolutely barren
Oh, it
driving
is
down
barren.
that road. But I don't think you're allowed to plant on that strip along the road.
I don't care. Just
Because
put
they
some
mow
trees
it,
somewhere.
so, okay.
Now look how nice the trees look up on the north end of town because they were protected from lunacy with weed eaters. Meow, you know? You cannot have weed eaters within 3 foot of a tree because they will chew it up.
Do you remember when we went salmon fishing up in Michigan and we went
Oh.
downtown to Manistee? I think it was
Oh,
Manistee, the
beautiful.
town, to a
Both sides of the road lined with
planted
flowers.
with flowers
Holy
on every curve.
There was petunias for 2 miles.
He loved it.
2 miles of petunias.
It was beautiful.
I'm running over people crossing the road looking at the flowers.
And he's like, I don't know if this is part of the budget for the town or is this volunteer work. I don't know, but it's beautiful.
Absolutely fabulous.
It was.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, when I first went up there back in 78, I think, to buy plants for the Indianapolis Zoo when I was working on that. That'd be 76. There were about 3 greenhouses, and the factories had left. Many of the factories had closed down. There was a manufacturer of automobile parts or something. There was great big factories, 2 or 3 of them that shut down. And the city decided to reinvent itself. And they started putting their money into greenhouses because it was mostly German heritage up there, and they're into growing. They really know what they're doing. And there was already a few greenhouses anyway. But they just kept building and building, and the city kept putting in more money and more money until it has become one of the grandest suppliers of bedding plants in the Midwest. Well, even further than that. Now, it's cheaper to grow them south, but they figured out ways to grow them very well up in Michigan, up in Kalamazoo. And if you want to make a trip, you go up there and look at their bulb displays, and they're up there when it's blueberry season. And I don't care when you go to Kalamazoo; it's beautiful. Kalamazoo is a fabulous
Never been
community.
there.
Yeah, they used to. I used to love going there, and I would stay with. There was 2 German families I would stay with, and God, their beer. Whew.
Too much beer.
Oh my God.
Okay.
You can get drunk on that stuff real quick, and
No,
you have no
surely
idea
not,
it's sneaking
no.
right up on you. Here.
Okay.
All right, we're live. You can call us. You can say hello, and we will say hello back. That's how, you pick up the phone, you dial the number, and the number's right up there on the screen. You have no excuse. And you need to call your friends because we've changed our time. We are now on twice a month.
The first and third Thursday of every month.
First
Thursday and the third Thursday
of every month
at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. See, you know what? How many years have we been doing this?
A long time, and I can't ever remember what time
I
it is.
still think it's
I
6
know.
o'clock.
Same bat time.
I get all-
Same bat channel.
I get all wired and fired. Here I want to come running in here at 6 o'clock.
It's like,
No.
not ready yet.
Got another half hour.
Okay.
We have a caller on the line. Yes, you're on the air with Mr. and Mrs. Garden Doctor. And they're gone. Did we lose them?
Nobody's anything.
Hello. Yes, there you are. How are you?
Hey, okay. Hey, guys. What did you find out about the organic gardening going on State Road 1, north of town?
State Road 1.
Wakertown. I didn't catch all of that.
The phone was kind of cutting.
Yeah,
Can
the
you
phone
repeat
was
that?
cutting in and out. Give me that again, would you?
I did that on purpose. The greenhouses on 1 going towards Cambridge.
Yes.
Organic farming of some type. I see that they are plowing, and I think we're still cutting out.
Yeah, we are, but that's all right. Okay. Yes, and I intend to interview those people because I want to know what's going on there. They're building great big giant greenhouses in Fayette County. And I spoke to a gentleman that works up there, and then I talked to another gentleman, but I still haven't gotten to the point
Is that
where...
the goose farm?
Well, people call it the goose farm, but it's the organic greenhouse system, right?
I heard it was lettuce.
Do you know anything about it?
I'm not really sure, but I do know that it's going to be an organic operation.
Well,
But they are now plowing in the big field there. They've moved all the compost back to the fence on the far wall, and now they're starting to plow that big field there.
Well-
just a few rows. There's not a big plowed section.
Yeah, I don't want to preempt what because I have a they had to reschedule for a reason. I have no control, but I intend to get up there and find out, because as you come into Connorsville, that's it's just big and bold, and it really looks good
It
there.
does. It looks great.
So yeah, I will find out for you, and I will have an answer at the next show.
Let's check it out.
We got to check it out,
Okay.
because that's something that's very important to this community. You got McDivitt as you come in the other way there. They got those beautiful greenhouses.
We did an interview and a
Yep.
piece with her
and
last
she
year.
just expanded her fruit
Well, good. Let's hit
vegetable
Hamilton's.
and produce and all that kind of stuff. And then as you get down around Brookville, they got the greenhouses down in Brookville, and then you come in the north. I love seeing greenhouses, because it means something is growing.
Yes.
Something green and something healthy.
And when plants are growing, that makes the communities
But
growing.
you keep an eye on them, because if they do anything that I don't know about, you call me back and tell me.
Okie dokie.
All right.
I got another question.
Go ahead.
Do you remember when we used to take a trip with Mom and Dad in the car, and we'd pull up at the house, and Dad get out and want to wash the car because there was all those dead butterflies that was flying around that the car ran into? We had so many butterflies
Yes,
those days,
I do.
and now they're gone.
Well, there's a reason why they're gone. And actually, Jeff, would you please bring me that magazine right there?
We
Bring me that
have a
magazine over
friend in the studio with us today. Here you go. Bring us that over. Thank you, Jeff.
And there's a magazine called Indiana Gardening, and it has a fantastic article in it about the loss of the monarch and the hope for the future and so forth like that. And it is really a fantastic article.
Well, part of the problem, the only host plant for the monarch is milkweed.
Right.
They can eat the nectar of other things, but they can't make cocoons for their babies in anything but milkweed.
And the direct decline of all butterflies is related to the destruction of milkweed. And milkweed is being destroyed by one single product, and that is the herbicides that they use on the farm fields to prevent anything from growing except the target species like corn and soybeans.
right.
So now, instead of there being some milkweed growing out there along with everything else, which doesn't hurt anything, or even the milkweed growing around the perimeters, no more. You hardly ever see a milkweed. If I have milkweed that grows on a customer's yard, I point it out to them, I tell them about it, and I usually plant a butterfly bush somewhere in their yard so that they can benefit from the butterfly bush and the milkweed. Milkweed doesn't really hurt anything. Matter of fact, it's good to eat. You have to be careful, though, because it is toxic. If it gets big enough, it just like the...
Don't eat it, people.
oh, no, it's delicious, just like poke. If you let poke get too old, you cannot eat poke either, so, But, yes, I remember when you used to drive down the road and the whole grill would be covered with those butterflies.
Oh, my.
And
Oh, yeah.
it was kind of neat, really. Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to go plant some milkweed.
It's a great thing to do. Milkweed is the salvation of the butterfly. Take care, bud.
Okay, let's do it.
Peace out.
This magazine, I saw this magazine a few years back. Now, I used to write for magazines all the time. And then after the fire in '99, the medicines that they had me on, I would write something and I would read it and I would go, holy, nobody wants to read this. It was nonsense. But I'm starting to get back into the reading and the writing and the photography. I lost all of my photo inventory, millions and millions of photographs, millions of hours spent
That's
setting.
back when you had to use film.
Yeah,
So,
that was. Oh, I probably had 30,000 slides and probably 150,000 photographs.
That's sad.
And negatives.
Not to mention your kids' basketball games and everything else.
The magazine that I wrote for, Buckmasters, had told me that my library of photographs was probably worth about $250,000 when the fire occurred. So, and I planned on retiring on those photographs. But anyway, so we start again. But it's taken me quite a while to get going. One of the things in this Indiana Gardening magazine, which I don't write for this. I'm not selling the magazine. I'm just informing you that this thing is jam-packed full of really fantastic information. They don't bother you with a bunch of nonsense. They just get right to it.
Good, we
I
don't
like
want
it.
any of that nonsense
No,
in there. That's right.
they have a section here called All About Tomatoes. And I read it, I'm going, holy mackerel. And last year I told you about grafted tomatoes.
Yes.
And you really need to look at
Where
those.
you have a strong rootstock and then a ornamental tomato or some, special great tomato grafted onto that strong rootstock so that the plant will grow better. Is that the reason for it?
That's the logic. Same way we do with fruit trees
Or
or
roses,
roses or whatever.
right.
And it is extremely successful in bringing heritage plants back.
Yeah, the heirloom tomato varieties because their roots are weak. And then you graft them to this strong rootstock.
Exactly. And the flavor of heirloom, the flavor of heirloom, like in Pink Ponderosa, Brandywine, they're fabulous, but they tend to get blights and so forth, and they
and
only
plus,
last.
People want have come to want in the grocery stores these perfect round red tomatoes, and the heirloom varieties can be lumpy and bumpy and asymmetrical and look maybe not as pretty cosmetically, but they're certainly more delicious
And so you want to look into these grafted. Now they're going to cost you a little bit. They're going to cost you maybe $8-10.
yeah, it's not your cheapo
But
tomato plant.
You're going to be putting in one plant for crying out loud, two.
Yeah, you're not going to do 20 and feed the whole
No,
county
go out on a limb and use these. Now, before we get too far along, we're going to go to our outtake, which is about waterfalls, and there's two different types of waterfalls that are going to be highlighted here. And one of them, there's a gentleman south of town that used to work for me actually, and way back when I had the nursery, he worked for me for about a year and a half, I think, maybe 2. And so now he has a used shoe place down there. But he decided when he retired, he was bored and he had to go out and do something. So it may be a little hard to hear because the wind was blowing, but I want you to see this in this stage so that later, when he's got it all filled in and the fish are in there and everything, you can see the process. And this has been a process. He's done this, redone this, redone this, redone this,
Boy,
redone this.
is it going to be done this year?
I think he's about done right now. Do you have it ready in there in the booth?
Are we showing
Have at it. And we're back.
And we're back.
And guess what? During the break,
Are you going to admit
if you
this?
notice, before we went away, my finger was absolutely perfect. You know, my hands were perfect. They didn't have any Band-Aids on
He was
them.
just bragging about this magazine.
And I come back, yeah, and there's a staple in the middle of the magazine. I go like this to flatten it. Oh!
Jammed himself right up under the nail. Now it's bleeding.
And I don't even have my tester here to see what my blood
Our
sugar
director,
is.
station manager, comes running over with a Band-Aid now. How about
John
that? He is
like
on the
lickety
ball.
split.
Thank you,
It's-
John.
It's just absolutely amazing. You know, the whole staff here, Bill, Ralph, Randy, Evan, all of them, it's just, they're amazing. Don't you think?
Quit it. Well, we ought to talk about some gardening.
Oh, you think so?
I think we ought to. And it's funny because normally we start pretty
You know,
early.
I'm getting about 14 echoes here.
That's okay. Just listen to my voice.
Okay.
It'll be all right, honey.
Okay, all right.
Your
Go ahead.
medicine hasn't kicked in.
Yeah,
The
I just-
voices will go away.
Let's move along.
Well, normally we start at a pretty decent time in the spring and we get our broccoli, cauliflower, beautiful broccoli and cauliflower last year. But this year, I can't decide if it was us not getting around to it or the weather
It was
keeping
us.
us from getting around to it.
It was us.
We have done nothing.
It was us.
Absolutely nothing.
It was her.
Until Tuesday.
It was her.
I put in, now I know
not
cucumbers
us.
are supposed to be put in hills, is what they say. But I want them to grow up along this fence, and because it's so easy to pick the cucumbers when it's growing on a fence.
Very easy, very good
It is,
idea.
I love it.
Especially
So
if you lean the fence like that.
I planted 2 rows of cucumbers, one on the inside of the fence, one on the outside of the fence with some old metal, things, plant stands to grow up around. And that's all we have done so far. I started
That's
some
it.
seeds.
That's the extent of our garden.
Flower seeds. I've got some, things that are my white trumpet flowers, this big, and
Yeah.
that is absolutely
We have
it.
not weeded our beds outside, which
No.
usually by now they're all weeded, and we have
No.
the weed preventer.
We have done nothing.
Not
so
done.
the thing is, we've always
And
talked
we have
about.
not been doing that much fishing either.
Yeah, that's your fault.
Ah!
That's your fault. You
What?
see that big fish I have on the intro? Remember those days? Okay. Yeah.
I remember those
let's
days.
get going. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked in the past about being able to, replant your second round.
Oh, yeah.
Later in the,
Actually, that'll be the third round.
in late
Yeah.
summer,
Right.
so that you have a fall harvest.
Yeah, you're definitely, positively, absolutely not too late for anything.
But we've never really done it.
No.
Because we already did it in the spring.
Yes.
Well, now, since we had no spring, broccoli, cauliflower, what else is there? Spinach,
Brussels
beets,
sprouts.
carrots, kale.
Even turnips, beets, all that
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
All these things, if you plant the seeds in the ground late July, or I think most of these are like July,
July and
right?
early August.
If I've got
yeah.
this right.
And if you don't get too late. You got to be ready for this when it's time.
And then come or late, let me start over. Then come September in the fall, when your 90 days has gone by, or germinate, however long it takes
Right.
to produce fruit. Here it is fall, and you will be having broccoli and cauliflower.
And you will not be having insects because they're killed as the frosts come in, and the frost has no effect on these cold weather crops. It actually helps them.
And your snap peas, these kind of things.
All that stuff
All
is
these things
fabulous,
that I'm
fabulous,
usually
fabulous.
done with by now. I've
Yeah.
frozen my broccoli, and I have none this year. So for
Yeah.
the first time this year, I want to take care of our summer garden business, okay?
Yep.
Our tomatoes and cucumbers, and then in the late summer, let's plant a fall garden.
I
and
think
see
that's
what
a
happens.
wonderful idea. And we're going to give you a list of what to do and what plants to look for. And if you can't find the plants, you can go to your local garden club, garden house, garden
Well, look at it this way.
nursery, and ask them to make some for you.
When they first started coming out with seeds, we got seeds for our spring garden. Well,
Sure.
now I've got these unused seeds. I don't really want to keep them till next year because then they're old seeds.
A lot of
So,
seeds you cannot keep unless
Let's
you have
use
the
them
right
in the fall
situation.
and get those cold crops coming back.
That's
late,
right.
Even
That's
if
right.
we're late.
Yep, yep. I agree entirely, and we have a list that we're going to work on. The closer we get to August, the time for us to do that, the more focus we're going to have
But
on
just
that.
think
So-
it's the same group of items that you plant in the early spring in the cold. The snap peas, the broccoli, the cauliflower, those things. Carrots, radishes.
Yes. Now, while we've got Jeff here,
Jeff is here.
What is Jeff's last
Jeff
name?
Griffin.
Griffin.
Now, he
How do I
is
know
the
that
son of Fred Griffin,
Ah,
our dear friend who had the lung fibrosis, and was waiting for a lung transplant. And unfortunately, between
just
his
didn't happen.
health and finances, it just didn't happen, and he passed away.
lost him this year.
Yes, and he will be
But
sorely missed.
Jeff, his son,
His son Jeff is here.
he did a lot of fundraisers over the course of a couple of 3 years.
Sure
there.
did.
And many of the times he would sell these shoes that he would pot up with
Hens and chicks.
hens and chickens.
He got the idea
All different
himself
colors, yeah.
and put them into hens and chicks. Well, one
Jeff,
of the first
bring one of
shoes-
your shoes over here. Bring that boot
Now,
over
this
here.
is one of the first he made, and this was one he gave to me. Sit that right there. Check this out. And while you're over here, anybody you want to say hello to out there?
Hello.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
Your
Anybody else?
mom? Yeah.
Want to say hi to Mom?
She's at work right now.
Well, but
Mom's
she can
working?
see the recording, can't she?
But, hi, Mom.
Grandma's
What about
home,
the
right?
people
Yeah.
over at, where is it you go on Monday?
Benchmark.
Benchmark.
Say hi to
Okay.
the people at
I love
Benchmark.
Benchmark.
You
There
guys
go.
know Jeff. Well, he made this shoe for me, and look how it is just busting out. I've had this one a couple of years now, hasn't it been?
I think so.
Well, he makes these. I've donated shoes to him. Get old shoes, and he plants them, and it's really good for your brain too.
He sets
to
them out in
plant.
front of his house at Memorial Drive. What is that? That is Memorial
Yes,
Drive, right?
8th Street.
8th Street Hill, top 8th Street Hill.
And he sells them,
Yep,
and he raised
yep.
some money, towards Fred's operation, and they are just absolutely gorgeous. And one thing you told me, doing this, it helps you clear your mind, right? That's why
Very
I love
therapeutic.
gardening. I say it's cheaper than a psychiatrist. I can go out and play in the dirt, and
Oh, I
makes
don't
you
know
feel
about
good,
that. She
right?
still needs a psychiatrist.
You do.
Well,
No, you do.
No, you do.
No, you do.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks,
You want to
Jeff.
take that with you?
Yeah, all
Ah, why
right.
not?
Make sure it goes
Thanks,
back
Jeff.
on my porch where it came from now. Thanks, Jeff.
Listen, in Connorsville, there are many people that have unique talents. And when I had the nursery, Neil's, I used to have this group of senior citizens that would bag up my seeds for me. And they would sit there and laugh and carry on, and they'd bag seeds for like 10 hours. There was 10 or 12, 15 of them. And, and we sold a lot of seeds. We sold seeds to Saudi Arabia, all over the world. And and they bag up potatoes and onion sets, and they just did this every day, every night. And of course we had to start off early. And then I had the people from what then was called the Dunn Center, and they would come over and help me pot up thousands of Memorial Day pots.
Oh, my.
We would pot up so many Memorial Day pots that we would fill my driveway all the way around, and then we would fill half of the field with these pots. And by the end of the Memorial Day weekend, we would be sold out.
Now, here's an interesting fact, is that Jeff, with his mother and father, Fred, used to live in that house.
Exactly.
Where Neil's nursery was.
In
where
my nursery,
where he
in the
used to
house
live.
that I rebuilt.
Fred and Jeff and his wife used
They
to live
certainly
there.
did. They
I
certainly
thought that
did.
was so funny.
What do you have? Oh, you already did the timetable.
Well,
not really. Do
Things
the-
we need to do right now.
This is May the 15th timetable for gardening read off. A few of those
Obviously,
things.
these are the things right now we're ready to get going. You got to get your tomato plants in. You've got to get, if you want eggplant, get your baby plants going. Your pepper plants. You plant your green beans, the seeds. Plant those in rows right now. Your zucchini and summer squash plants. Get those in now. Even your melons, cucumbers, that kind of thing. Now is the time.
Do not get too excited about fertilizing your plants because a plant should not be fertilized until it starts to bloom. The reason for that is that once it starts to bloom, it's putting energy into the fruit, not the vine. If you put the fertilizer down too early, it'll put all of its energy and surplus energy into the vine.
Well, the same with
And
our
the fruit
flowers.
will be reduced substantially.
We only fertilize the blooming flowers.
Right. When they're in blossom.
When they're in bloom.
There are so many fantastic new plants. And let me tell you something. Don't settle. When you go to a nursery to buy a plant, don't settle on the inventory that is there at the time you go. If you want a specific plant, then shop around or ask the nursery to get that plant in for you because there's a reason that you want that specific plant. What you should be doing is finding the right plant for where it is you want to put a plant, not making the plant fit that environment. So let's say that you have the perfect place. You've researched and you know that this hydrangea, which by the way, hydrangea can be in a wide diversity of areas, but it has to be the right hydrangea for that area. Shade, there's certain ones that go in the shade, sun, other ones, wet area, other ones, you know. So you have to get the right plant for the right location. But the new hydrangeas, oh my gosh, they have blossoms that are as big as footballs.
Oh, wow.
And they don't bend over and break like the old ones. I've got a one on a pedestal that came from Michigan. It's on a stem. It's a grafted one that is out at the corner of John's house there, out across from the old power.
Right.
What's that development in there?
Oh, I can't
Village
remember
Creek,
the name
is it,
of
or
it.
something?
No, it's across the street from Village Creek. We're across from the soccer complex there.
Yeah, in that development in there, on the corner of his house, that will produce football-sized blossoms all over the whole thing, and
Wow.
none of them will break. And it will bloom for about a month and a half, almost 2 months. It's absolutely fabulous. And the same thing is true of roses. Some of the new varieties of roses that are out, the Floribundas, the Grandifloras, the Carefrees, and don't just go to non-stops because there's a lot of other roses out there that are fantastic. But read the label, don't settle, don't take something that's not the right plant that
Because
you've
if you put the
researched.
wrong plant in the wrong area, it's going to always be a battle.
It's
It's
a
never going to
complete
look
disaster.
right. You're always going to be,
it's going to
discouraged
go
with it.
downhill hard,
And-
and you're going to lose it.
Now, back with this timeline here also, now in early June, if you want to have pumpkins in time for Halloween, put your pumpkin seeds in early June.
Yeah, yep.
Get those planted, and your winter squash, and things you want to have harvested.
That's up into June, though, right?
The 1st of June, early
Okay.
June.
Do you want to do your pictures, or do you want to do the trivia?
Well, we've got some pictures, and it's just kind of a little bit of what we have and haven't done in our own yard. So if they have the pictures ready, I'll kind of narrate. Chives. This is just a pot of chives. I love the blossom on these.
Absolutely
I think
gorgeous.
it's gorgeous.
Yep.
It is. Next one is, this is our cage. It used to be a dog cage where I pulled the weeds on one side. The other side's horrible. This side is where there's Toby with all the weeds. On the left there is where I planted the cucumbers along the fence.
And
So,
she's gonna do the
yeah,
same thing on the
there
other
we
side.
go.
That's
And
all right. Keep on
Cucumbers
trucking.
inside and out. So keep on there. Now that I got at the Goodwill store. It's a Halloween decoration, and I'm hoping it's going to keep the birds from breaking off my
Until they
plants.
get used to
I'm
it.
going to move it every
Yeah.
week. It's big and ugly.
It is ugly.
Tied on there. Now that's our greenhouse.
Which
but
does not have a cover on it,
no,
and it should have.
It's too late now for
Nah, I'm
really.
gonna put a cover on it
'cause
anyway.
It's so hot in there.
I'm
but-
gonna put
now,
you
I've
in a hot
started
building.
some seeds, some cosmos. I've started some lemongrass and herbs and different things. But
grow
that's
better
it.
in a greenhouse.
This is it. This is as far as I
Yeah,
have
that's
gotten.
it.
So now here's my greenhouse. I did get
I
it
built
cleaned
you that
up.
greenhouse last year,
I
and you
love
saw
the
some
benches.
beautiful pictures
Love
of that.
the potting
Oh.
bench, but I'm just now cleaning up and getting going. Now, we had that little cold snap a week ago. If you look to the right of this, that is a peony plant, which is doing absolutely gorgeous and green. The one with the leaves dying on it is the grapevine.
And it was
I have
frosted
two,
hard.
and I don't know why both grapevines took it hard and nothing else went.
Just because of the foliage.
And there's the
I guess.
other one.
There's
Look
the
at
other
that.
grapevine. Yeah.
It's just, all the
Rough
foliage
shape.
died, and nothing else did. And now this is a tree you brought back for me to plant. It's actually got a peach on it already.
That's right. I sewed that on there.
Did you really?
Sewed it right in there, yeah.
And what else we got? Oh, look at this rhubarb. Now this thing takes off, and he's got
I've
a
already
section.
eaten about 40 stems out of
He's got
there.
a section plowed in the back, and if you can see Toby, everywhere I point the camera, he thinks he should go look there, and that's why he's in every picture. This is gorgeous. Tell
That's
me
a
what
Wigelia.
Wigelia. I saw that
It's called
blooming.
oh,
It's beautiful.
Wine and Roses.
Look at that.
Yeah,
let's see,
it's
what-
fabulous.
Oh, you got some
Lilacs in
lilacs
bloom.
in bloom.
Actually, there's 2 or 3 lilacs. The iris are in bloom right
this
now.
time of
Gorgeous.
year, I just love to
Yeah,
look and see
beautiful
what's
things.
coming out because the colors that nature provides is amazing.
That's
look
a
at this
gorgeous
iris.
iris,
I
yeah.
mean, it's starting to wilt. It's still beautiful.
Surrounded by clover, and I love clover.
That's pretty. That's why the deer come up. This is my planter box. What I did is
That
I
was
just,
made out of popple, by the way,
Was
about
it?
15 years ago, and it's still holding
That's
up.
true, and the dirt in there is absolutely great. But I've planted it with just a bunch of zinnia seeds. It's good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did that one year. It was gorgeous.
What's
Look
that
at this.
goofy looking
It's
thing?
some kind of bird bath with a shower head.
I'm not
and
gonna
two
take a
handles
bath in
on
it.
I thought it was
Maybe
cute.
Jeff will take a bath.
All
in it.
right. It's
We'll bring
cute.
you a picture.
And there, I got some of those white trumpet plants that I sell. I had some volunteer seedlings.
Once
potting
you
'em
start
up.
white trumpet, if you don't stop them, they'll take over the world. But they
Yeah,
are beautiful.
They are beautiful.
Absolutely fabulous.
I love them.
Yeah.
And there's Jeff's
There's
shoe.
Jeff's boot.
Right
That's
on my
it looks
porch.
just like the boot that he brought in.
Right? I need to go up
Oh,
to Goodwill and
Pete.
see if they have any single shoes, that don't have a mate. Maybe
I've
that they.
I've got a place that
All right,
we
we
can
need
get
some
shoes.
shoes. For
Yeah,
Jeff.
we'll get some shoes.
Keep him busy.
That's right.
And there, we bought a pineapple. Now, when I was in Florida, we would always cut the top off and grow the top. And I actually grew one so well that it grew a pineapple. But I've never had any luck here. But I'm going to try it
Yeah.
again. I've got a pineapple.
All
so
right.
We'll try it.
Well, we
All
got
right,
through
then.
that. Let's just pop a little trivia here real quick.
Okay,
Till
now
we get down to the wire here.
this
And you
is-
guys don't want to call us, that's fine. That's fine. We'll go home and cry. We always do. 1 call means that she cries. 2, no calls at all means we both cry. So, see what you did? You're going to make her cry. Somebody better call in the last 5 minutes.
you nut bar.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of this is weather records, records of the fastest, hardest, strongest, whatever thing in weather. And one of the things I am so very proud of, probably have mentioned this on before, in New Hampshire is Mount Washington, which is, a landmark up there.
Which I climbed 11
He-
times
he
in
has
my life.
climbed it.
11 times.
I took
Mount
the
Washington.
I took the tram up once.
Yeah, well.
Well, I've never been on that crazy road.
That don't
However, the fastest surface wind speed recorded was 231 miles per hour at Mount Washington, New Hampshire in 1934, and that has never been broken.
I just was going to climb it that day, too.
I'm telling you, the greatest snowfall in one day was 75 inches in
What?
Silver Lake, Colorado in 1921.
Holy!
Can
Do you know it's still
imagine?
snowing in the Rockies right now?
Well, do you know on
It's
Mother's
snowing.
Day, he called it Aunt Bee in New Hampshire, called Aunt Bee.
BBB.
It snowed on Mother's Day morning. Not a lot, but it still did snow. Let's see. What else you got here? The longest tornado path that, that speaks for itself,
Yeah.
was 293 miles on the ground. In 1917, it traveled from Missouri to Indiana. Can you imagine?
And nobody knows why.
I don't know. The greatest rainfall in the day was 73 inches somewhere out over the Indian Ocean.
God, it was over the
But the
Indian
thing is,
Ocean.
this is the world. So that wind,
73 inches.
that wind speed in New Hampshire at Mount Washington isn't just the country, it's the world.
Holy shemackerel.
Okay, here's something, I can't believe this is true. Okay.
Yeah.
Tree crickets are called the poor man's thermometer because temperature directly affects their rate of activity. So it says count the number of chirps a cricket makes in 15 seconds. Then add 37 to that number. The sum will be very close to the outside temperature.
And I
Are
don't
you
know
kidding
why
me?
you didn't know this. Everybody in the control booth over
Well,
there
it tells
knows
you
this.
how
They're all
far away
nodding
is
their head.
lightning.
Well, of course, they're doing like this. You know,
How far away is
Jeff
lightning?
is over there going, yeah.
You count the seconds between the flash of lightning, the sound of thunder,
Yeah,
divide
of
by
course.
2.
Yeah, but
how
that's
many
all. That's
miles away.
old school. The cricket thing, you didn't know that when you were a kid. Nobody told you that. You had a deprived life. It's so sad.
Do you know there are only 2 states in our country that have record highs that are no greater than 100 degrees? It has never been over 100 degrees.
Have they legalized marijuana?
In Alaska
Oh.
and Hawaii.
That has nothing to do with, no. Other high. Okay, gotcha.
Are you high? We have 2 minutes.
We have 2 minutes.
Thank God, because I don't know where he's going with this. Honey, are you high?
Hey,
You
quit
okay?
it. What are you doing?
I don't
What's next?
know. What do you want me to
Ask
do?
me a question.
Okay. What is the safest place in a tornado? Inside a car, under an overpass, in a ditch, or under a tree?
At John's house. Everybody go to John's house.
Yay,
If it's a hurricane.
tornado, John's
Or
house.
tornado.
The answer is
Oh, it's in a ditch. I sure.
don't
It would have
know.
to be in a ditch. Yeah.
answer
Next.
C, in a ditch.
Of course it's in a
Which
ditch.
kills more people every year? Lightning, floods, tornadoes, or hurricanes?
Bats.
B, floods.
Floods. I did not know that.
What's
really?
the thing? Be safe, turn
Really?
around. Don't drive, turn around. I
Turn-
forget how it goes.
Well, yeah,
Turn
don't
around,
drown.
don't drown.
Turn around,
That's
don't
right.
drown.
Which time? No.
I tell everybody that before they go swimming. Nobody listens to me.
What time of day is best for tornado development?
This I know. I know this. What, are you going to give
I'm
me
going
the
to
options?
try. No, it's all these times. I'm just going to tell you. See, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
That's right.
Is
and
the great
as soon
best.
as the sun goes down, the energy kind of goes out of it. So if it's hitting to the other side of the state, you can take a nice deep breath. Now listen, we want you to nominate, think about, get your brain going, talk to everybody. Find me a gardener, good old gardener in Connersville, Indiana.
Yeah, let's-
somebody that we can have an interview with and
Yes,
sit
would
down
love
and talk
that.
with.
And
Yeah.
and start thinking about any trees that you think.
Find
hey,
some big
that's
old
the
trees that you
greatest
can't put
tree.
your arms around. There's
Yeah.
some over at Whitewater State Park. There's some around Brookville Lake.
But it's got to be a native species.
Has to be native to
species.
Indiana. And you can tell if you go up and you put your arms around it and you listen, it will, you'll
You're
be
just
able
a
to
tree
tell.
hugger. Thanks, Jeff, for coming into the studio today.
Thank you very much. And we really enjoy being here. We hope
Yes,
you
we
enjoy
do.
watching us. And give us a call next time. We love you, Connersville. We really do.
The garden